Hey, everybody, it's Lynn Post and JP. We are so excited that you're either here with us right now or watching the replay. I know a lot of my leaders are watching the replay. So, either way, we are really glad that you're joining us today. So, what I want to talk about with all of you is being open for sponsoring. Hi, Gary, being open for sponsoring. So, I love sharing 31. Like, it's the favorite part of my business. Don't tell people, but it really is. I'd rather have you join me than sell you a large utility tote. But I wanted to talk about, are you open for sponsoring or not this season? And if you're not, how you can be. So I wanted to just start by telling you a little bit about my story and how sponsoring came to be my very favorite thing, and then talk about yours. So I started 14 years ago. I still can't believe it was 14 years ago, but started 14 years ago. And I just went to a party. So I went to a party, not even with the intent to really buy anything. I didn't have a lot of extra money. My son had been really sick and I was looking for extra income. Didn't go to the party looking for extra income at the party, but in the back of my head, I knew I needed extra income. So went to the party, saw the girl was selling, and it seemed pretty simple what she was doing. People were buying it, and it looked like the way out for me. So I ended up I think the next day, not even a couple days, I ended up joining because I needed to make extra money and I thought it was going to be a flexible way. When I joined then, I really was looking to just sell some stuff, right? So I just wanted to sell some stuff and make some commission, and knew that that would give me part of what I needed, a lot of money, but it was going to give me some to help bridge that gap. Well, what I didn't realize really until like a year later, that the money that I was making, although I was very happy with it, it was fulfilling the need that I had at the moment, that there was more money out there for me to be made by sharing 31. Now, I had people join me during that year, just sort of, I didn't really even ask them, like just a couple. Like I think I was a senior consultant after 1 year. So a 1 year it took me to be a senior consultant. And then you needed two. Now you only need one. But so when I was a senior consultant, I went to our conference in the summer, and I saw people who I thought, my gosh, if she can do that, I think I can do that too. And they were talking about the money and how much she was making and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to figure out how to sponsor. I didn't know how. I think all of you all know how, right? You all are all leaders, so we all know how, but our teams might not, right? And so I needed to figure out how. I always tell my team, I didn't have a me to help me. I had to kind of go outside that. And so I did. I found somebody who would help me with sponsoring. And I learned how to do it. So that's really the biggest message for you all who already know how to sponsor to pass on to your teams is, we don't all know how to do it coming in here. It's something that we can learn. But you have to be open to sponsor in order to do it, right? Like I had in a year, a couple of people just join me without me even being open. I definitely wasn't closed, but it wasn't like I was doing anything to really encourage that. So that next year, I decided to focus on that. And I don't know about you, but I know for me and my business, whenever I decide to focus on something, I can actually make it come to fruition because I'm actually putting some effort into that part of my business. And so I just started offering the opportunity to people. And I wasn't waiting for them to come to me. I think, especially, even 14 years later, what I see from a lot of my team members is waiting for, like, maybe they'll make a post and think that post will just bring people to them. Okay. And although I would hope that it wouldn't hurt to make the post, I don't think that that's the magic behind being open to sponsoring. I think we actually have to be intentional whenever we're thinking about sponsoring. And I was going to say the word targeted, but I feel like that's kind of a negative word. Specific when we think about who we're going to be reaching out to. So what I want you to think about, and this is what I've done for 14 years, is every month I always, number one, think about, why is this a great time to be open for sponsoring? Why is now a time for me to be offering? And why is now a time for somebody to join my team? What makes this month different? Okay. And you might think it doesn't really matter what month it is. And it doesn't. I think every month is a great month to become a consultant. But if I think about it, every month I can come up with a specific reason why now this month is the month to join. Okay. So for example, for us right now in October, we have a couple of different things. Okay. Number one, we have the Merry Mini kit that we can offer. And that's great. Like, I think that's a really great thing for us to be offering. But number two, I think our biggest thing is that people are starting to think about spending money for the holidays. And guys, let's just face it, right now, we're in just sort of a tough economic time where people need extra money. So they're thinking about spending money for the holidays, but yet they don't have any extra money. I just had some conversations this weekend. If you don't know, I've got 3 grown children. And they were talking about, they just went to the grocery and how much they spent at the grocery store. And it was so much, they didn't feel like they had bought any more than they normally would buy, but it was so much more. So everybody is thinking about what I like to call bridging the gap with their money. And so I don't know if you know that, but we have that opportunity to offer somebody. Okay. We have a way for them to bridge the gap that they have in the money that they have coming into their house. Now, not everybody needs to bridge the gap. Some people may just want extra money. Maybe they have enough. It's just now they can't go out to eat on Friday night like they used to, or they can't buy clothes like they used to, or take their kids wherever they want to, or whatever. So I really feel like right now, and we've heard this before, if you haven't heard this yet, right now, our economic times being bad is sort of good for us because people need our opportunity more than ever. So I want you to think about what you have to offer, and I want you to think about who you're offering it to. And I want you to start making a list of people if you haven't. So that's one thing that I do all the time after I've thought of, usually I have a running list, but when I think about the month and how I'm going to focus this month, I've got the Merry Mini Kit. I know people need the money. I'm going to start offering the opportunity in that way. I know JP talked about filling our Benjamins with the money. Like, that's the whole connection, is that you can get this starter kit for $25, and then you're going to start filling it with the money that you need for your family. But people don't always think about 31 as a way to make money. Okay, so when I went to that party 14 years ago, I was not thinking about that. It never really even crossed my mind that I would become a 31 consultant. But what was crossing my mind when I was at that party was that I did need extra money, and that this looked flexible to me. I mean, I had a full-time job at the time. I was looking for a way to do something else, but yet I had 3 kids that were in high school that were doing other things, and I didn't want to take time away from them. And it seemed like everything else that I had looked into required me to give up what I had come to love doing with them. So we can offer that with our opportunities. So think about why now is a great time. I've given you a couple of things. Maybe you have something else that you can add to that. If you do, type in, and I would love to hear what they are. I'm always looking for other perspectives on that. Think about who you can offer it to, and don't wait for them to just come to you. Offer it out there to them. You could say, something like, if you've ever heard me talk about this before, I always say, like, you might think I'm crazy. It's a way for me to kind of break the ice. Like, this is kind of weird for me to even say this to this person, but I really think she'd be good at it. And I want to make sure I offer it to her. So I always say something like, you might think I'm crazy, but we have this Mary Mini kit that's $25. And I think you would be a great 31 consultant. And this is why, or whatever. What do you think? You have to offer it. And that was the next topic that I want to talk about, was just offering it instead of posting about it. We post and pray or whatever you do. We actually have to be intentional, specific, whatever, in who we're reaching out to about the opportunity. Okay. And we can do that through time. Over time, I've made a list of people that I continually keep going back with. Or it could be you're at a party right now. Like, let's say you're having a Facebook party right now, and are you looking for people that you think would want to join your team? Or are you so focused on selling the large utility tip? At the party, are you looking for people or just selling the large utility tip? Now, I love selling large utility totes, and I definitely want to keep doing that. But what I learned a long time ago was that the party, although I'm going to be generating sales through the party's a way for me to meet new people that I can have join my team. And so when I'm at the party, when you're having that Facebook party, or that, if you're lucky enough and I like it to be in person with somebody, are you offering that opportunity, or looking, even just being on the lookout, looking for those cues of, maybe they answer a question about something for you. You didn't even have to do it. They came in and answered it. Or, there's some people, I'm sure you've come across them, where you just, even online, you just get around them and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I really like her and I want her to be a part of my team. Well, I really want you to be brave enough to just offer that, to put it out there and see. They may say no, and they may think you're crazy. So they may think you're crazy, but they may not. And you may be exactly what they need in their life at the moment. Okay. They're not going to broadcast, I'm not going to broadcast. My son had a bone marrow transplant. I need money. I wasn't broadcasting that, but I felt it definitely. I needed the money. And luckily for me, 31 was there. And so there may be a lot of other people, I know that there are, that are in the same situation as I am, or I was. So, okay. So think about who it's going to be, make a list, and then follow up with them. Put something out to them. It may take a couple of times. Don't give up. I have a big list. I don't know how you're keeping track of who you're following up with. Okay, I hope you have some sort of system where you've got a list, or maybe it's online or whatever, but keep a list of who you're talking to. And every time I think, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to the people that have expressed interest, because now is the time that they want to now is the time that they'll want to join my team. I'm reaching out again. Keep reaching out until they tell me no. And sometimes they do. Okay, we have to be open to hearing no too. But keep following up and reaching out. So hopefully you've heard the phrase, you can get everything in life that you want if you help enough people get what they want. And that's the way I look at sponsoring, is I'm offering something to them so that they can get what they want. And I'm going to get something big too. And we know that this month we're going to get something really big, right? We're going to get that $50 Slay the Day money. I don't know what they're specifically calling it. I can't remember, but we're going to get $50 when they get a strong start. So when somebody joins, I always tell my team, I'm not in the people gathering business. Like, people join my team. Okay, that's great, but that's just people gathering. I'm not in the people gathering business. I want to help them get what they want out of this business. Okay, once they join, that's not the end. I've got to get them, off to a strong start. And so when they do, I'm going to get rewarded with that $50 slay the day money. And then if I can help 10 people, we know we're going to get that extra bonus on top of that. That's a really, I mean, even for me, and I consider myself a really great sponsor, like that's kind of scary, right? Like to do that, but I don't think it's impossible. I think it's possible. And just like any goal that we could set for ourselves, if I don't reach the highest goal, I'm surely going to get far because I've been reaching for that. So reach for the highest goal. If you don't get there, that's okay. You're still going to be lining up those $50 credits. And the best part is you're going to get what I call the paycheck of the heart, where you're helping other people, like you're helping them get something that they need to help in their life, right? So I think that that's really good. Okay, let me make sure I really kind of went off my script here. Let me get back to my script and quit rambling on. Okay. Well, I kind of did hit on everything that I wanted to hit on. We know now is the time, but we have to think now is the time. Is there a particular day of week that follow up? So that's a great question, Carrie. And I was just talking with one of my up and coming leaders about this specific thing, because we as in a lot of 31 people, we talk about follow up Friday. Like Fridays are a great day to follow up. I like Fridays because I feel like people get paid on Friday. It's the weekend. I always say people say yes on Friday. She said, I really like Sunday. Like I do my laundry on Sunday. And so while I'm doing my laundry, I'm doing my follow up. And guess what? It works just as well for her on Sunday as it does for me on Friday. So I think it's whatever you think is the best day. And whenever you can do it. Like that was the other thing. She had committed to doing it on Sunday. And so she was. So I think, I think any day could be a good day if it's good for you, because you've got the right perspective going into it and you're going to be in a good headspace. So I don't think any day works. I would say Friday. That's kind of my answer, but it's not the only answer, obviously. So, okay, sure. Okay. I think that's it. So we've got a few minutes. If you all want to, you can unmute or ask a question or, and the other thing that I wrote down that I didn't say was, hopefully we all know this, like we're all leaders with this company and we didn't get here just by magic. Okay. We already did the work to get here. First of all, we have to do what we did to get here to stay here, right? Like I always say that what I did to get here, I have to do to stay here. But my team doesn't always know what I know. So it's really important that we're cascading this down. So if there was anything, that I said that really stuck to you, you think about how I'm going to present that exact same thing to my team, because we need them to do the exact same thing. When they're following what we're doing, we're all doing well, right? Okay. What else? Any other topics or questions or anything? JP, can you think of something that you would like to add into all of this?
I think that's good. A couple of things I heard you say, I took some notes, is, making a list. Like that's so important. I think sometimes we start lists and we throw them away, and then we start more lists and throw them away. We never have a real running list that we maintain. And so I love that. But if they didn't have a list, if they're sitting there like, I've never made a list, I don't know where to start, I would encourage them, because I love that you were talking about, the Merry Mini Kit is a big deal right now. So if you don't have a list, make a Merry Mini Kit. That can be your starter. So who do you know would love, to be a part of this company during the holidays, either because they can't afford groceries or they need extra income, they feel the income gap. Just go down and make like a Merry Mini list. Because I've heard people say, who would be your dream team? Make a dream team list or make a dollar enrollment list. Why not, have fun with it and make a Merry Mini list? That could be your starting point. And looking back at your email activity report, me and Lynn talked about that last week. Like, how do you even start making a list? Sometimes we'll immobilize you because you're like, I don't even know where to start. So if you don't have a list, you don't know where to start, look back at who your top customers were last season. Look back at who your top hostesses were for 2021. Like find a little like starting point, and then once you start, you'll just start filling that list. It'll start coming pretty naturally as you start thinking of people and even top customers. Like who was your big spenders last season? So I love that you reminded everybody to have a list, you know.
And even think out, even outside of that, like I have sponsored people just because I was scrolling Facebook and saw that their husband lost their overtime, like they lost their overtime. I know my husband gets overtime, so I know what a big chunk of money that could be. She's somebody who hasn't even said anything to me about becoming a consultant, but I think I could help her. Like we need to have that mentality too. So think outside when you're thinking
And
that list.
that
But
conversation, like I wrote this down too. You said, you might think I'm crazy, but that is a good starter. If you don't want to feel spammy or icky, but you can say, you may think I'm crazy, but I just saw you post,
that's
your
right.
husband lost his overtime. You may think I'm crazy, but have you ever thought about doing what I do? Have you ever
That's
thought
right.
about filling the income gap this season with 31?
And it's worked for me. Like that is an exact scenario that has happened. So it really does happen. You just have to be brave enough. Like
That's
I
the
think
word.
it is. It really is. And it's hard for me too, even now. Okay. We have to be brave enough to do it. We
Yeah.
know we should do it, and we know we could help her. I mean, think about it like that. You're really like withholding help from her if you don't offer. So yeah.
So
What
don't see anybody's asking questions, but I want to pick your brain just for a second. You didn't know I was going to ask you this, but I have a little notebook beside my in the morning when I'm getting ready. I'm always listening to some sort of YouTube video, or I'm always listening to some sort of random training while I'm getting ready. And I have a notebook that I write things down. Well, I heard this and I'm like, I got to ask Lynn. She's a Disney fan. So they were talking about the ride at Disney called the People Mover. Okay, so I looked it up a little bit today, and it said, the People Mover at Disney, you can get on it, and it's like an unlimited time. There, you can just stay on it forever and ever. A lot of people will get on it just to rest. Like that's what they get on it. And it was saying, it's 2 people per car, and there's like, I don't know, 64 seats or something. I can't remember the numbers, but some people will get on and off. They'll go around one time. Some people will stay on it for hours because they just need the break, or the grandparents, that's where they'll park the grandparent. But I started thinking about that as business. We have a lot of people that come in and out all the time. And sometimes people get on and they're on it for the long run. That's kind of me and you. We've been here forever. Then you've got people that will get on and they'll take a couple of laps and decide it's not for them. Or maybe people will get on and get off at the next stop because they just needed to get where they needed to be. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a great analysis for sponsoring and even having our own expectations. So as we're sharing the opportunity, it may be a career change for people. They may want to be on it forever. Maybe it is a short-term way for them to get where they need to go. Maybe they need to pay for Christmas. Or maybe they're going to put all in for a couple of years and then they're ready to do something else. It could be a springboard. And so I was like thinking about them, like we should totally make a training on the People Mover and how we can use that analysis for just this time during the year. There's going to be people that will get on it short term just to get to their destination. That destination season could be having a cash Christmas, or it may be to get over the hump of their husband losing their overtime. Like, do you think that's a good analysis?
I think that is really good. And I think a lot of times when we're sponsoring, especially as leaders, when leaders are sponsoring, sometimes they want to just find somebody just like them. Like I'm looking for the person who's just like me, who wants what I want from the business or whatever. And I think the People Mover analogy is a good analogy of there's all kinds of riders that we can have on the People Mover. And here's the thing. They're all great. Like it doesn't matter. And here's the other thing. When I get on the People Mover, I might think I'm only going to the next stop, but I'm riding the People Mover and loving it so much that I end up being the person that stays on it for an hour. So you never really know. So I love that analogy because that's exactly the way our business is. And I want to encourage everybody, like we've heard this before, I'm sure as leaders, you know this, that, we don't need to prejudge anybody. Okay, we're not going to prejudge anybody. But we also have to be open to, there's a lot of reasons why people join. And it doesn't matter to me. Like, honestly, like that is my philosophy, JP, you know that. Like it doesn't matter to me. How is 31 going to serve you today? Like, and the good news is it could change a month, a year, or whatever down the road. Right. So I love that. I like
do too. I was like,
I am a Disney fan, so anything Disney, yes.
I'm not a huge Disney fan, and so I'm like, I don't go every year. I've sat on the People Mover, I've rode it, but like remembering my experience on the People Mover, I just remember there was no line, like you could just, and no people didn't have to get off, and I'm like, yeah. Oh my gosh, this is such a great analysis for our direct sales business. And you're right, I don't care how long obviously I want them to have the best experience for sure, but sometimes they're just in it for Christmas, and that may just be one round. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is a good analogy, and I'd love to even have a tracker. And maybe it's the People Mover train, going down like the candy land or whatever, and people get off and people, I don't know. Now I'm overanalyzing it, but
well, I think it's very fitting. So yeah, I think there could be a lot of ways to use that in our business. But I think the main point is we need to be offering it to everybody. We don't need to prejudge, and we don't need to have our notebook and go, okay, so how long are you going to be with the company? What is your, we want them to give it a try. Come on in, see what happens. If you're here for the holidays, great. If you're here to get a discount for you and your family, that's great. Whatever the reason you're here, I'm so glad.
And thinking about that, it's like, you're right, we don't discriminate. So I'm trying to remember, does the People Mover, I think anybody can get on it. There's no height requirement. And so anybody can get on, and they don't say, if you're 50 years and older, you sit in the front, and we're all kind of meshed in there together. And that's the other thing I love about 31 is that we do truly help each other and support each other. And once you're in the community, we don't know who the consultant is or the leader is or the national executive directors are. We're all in together. We're all trying to go the same direction. People take different paths to get to the same destination, but I think that when you sponsor someone and they come in, you just embrace them. You don't say, I'm not going to give you the information because you are only wanting to make $100. So the community that you establish from the beginning, no matter what their path is important too. And they'll see that as we share things on Facebook. Like we don't say, you have to be on this side of the picture, or that. We're all encompassing. So I think that we have to really talk about the sisterhood that we enjoy, and we've gotten away from that with COVID. So Impact and some of these events are kind of bringing that back to the forefront, and women are desperate for that, for sure. So I was like, I've got to tell you that People Mover. So what better?
I love that, and I think it's a great analogy.
Yeah. Well, I don't see any questions up here. Miranda says she's coming up on 9 years in her business. So
okay,
she's been on the journey for a while. That's cool.
Okay, that is good. I'm reading all about that. I see the Scentsy stuff too.
So if you were giving them your golden tip of recruiting, what would it be? What would you tell everybody? Okay, if you've never recruited somebody, here's where you start. This is the golden rule.
I think the golden rule is to offer it. So if we go back to me, a year in the business, without really sponsoring. Well, and that was sort of like the heyday time too. So it didn't just magically happen. So FYI, it didn't just magically happen. But the reason it didn't happen in that year is because I didn't even try. I didn't even do anything. Okay. And so I think my biggest advice is to try to offer and be brave, be brave and offer. That's it. And when you do, I think you'll be surprised at the outcome.
I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. All right. Well, I am excited to be partnering with you with this series. So next Monday, same time, same Zoom link, we'll come back together. And if there's something specific you guys do want to talk about, send me or Lynn a message, and maybe that's the topic that we lead with next month, because we're
Mhm.
sharing with you what's working with us. Lynn's a top recruiter, and she's told you just be open and be brave. And we've encouraged you to make lists, make the connected contacts. Last week, I encouraged you to focus your connected contacts on the ask of being on your team. And Lynn reminded you to be brave about it today. So what else do you guys need as leaders that maybe is not on TOT, that you've not heard before? We want to know what you need so we can share our wisdom with you.
Mhm. And make sure to share with your teams. Like, that's the biggest thing. So
Yes.
take what you have and pass it on.
Good tips. Okay. All right, Lynn, my friend, I love you. Thank you for
All
partnering with me
right.
on
I'll
this.
see you. I won't be on next week, but I'll see you all the last week.
Okay.
I'll see you. Bye.
Bye, guys.